Guys, gals, it's beautiful. Get ready, fam. It's time for a comeback. Yo! How are you doing, everybody? It is I, Jesse, aka Survival Punk, aka the Wide Guard, aka... Oh no, it's that guy. And today, who do I have a treat for you? Buckle up, VIPs. All Kill Comeback.
Don't call it a comeback.
AKA Trickster's Neon K-pop Revenge Tour is here, and we are about to spill all the tea. Starting with how the devs PTB'd their way into the ultimate glow-up. Customizable aura colors. That's right. No more hiding your aura by sitting on a gen like a sack, and no more eye torture for colorblind gamers. After mainlining default DBD auras since 2016, squinting like a boomer at a Discord font, we can finally customize our aura colors to our liking across the board. This ain't cosmetic fluff. It's accessibility god tier, especially for you colorblind legends out there. This reduces visual clutter on chaotic maps like the new Sleepless District nightclub, we will get into that soon, and lets you optimize contrast for potato PCs or eagle eyes alike. Cue into Trickster's Delusion with your auras matching the neon vibes, and suddenly you're not just surviving, or killing for that matter, you're thriving in a personalized fog party. Behavior waited 10 years, but damn, this S tier quality of life change hits every note. All hail the color revolution. Your eyes will thank you. Next up on our docket, the new map. Imagine stumbling out of the fog into Seoul's cyberpunk underbelly after one too many soju shots. Neon signs screaming Korean barbecue deals that no one's eating. A nightclub thumping bass harder than your heartbeat during a showstopper, and alleyways so narrow you'll wish you were pallet looping in a cornfield instead. This is Trickster's Delusion, the Sleepless District's crown jewel, DBD's first urban map. Birthed straight from Ji-woon's deranged idle brain, Easter eggs litter the place like discarded fan letters, glimpses of his crumbling psyche amid street food carts and convenience stores. Split into 4 quadrants, like a bad boy band breakup, the map is made up of several unique factors, including high streets, open chases killer heaven, a nightclub, a tight dark palette poor terror dome, the market and park, Loop City with strong palettes and foliage mind games, low streets, alleys for survivor jukes, and a unique killer shack bottom left near the park gate with central roads to connect them all together. This map overall looks absolutely fantastic. It is aesthetically the best map in the game so far, bar none. And best of all, it is, considering its fixed layout and extreme lack of random elements, one of the most balanced maps they have ever added to the game, period. The map is partially indoor, allowing for strong stealth gameplay. The shops are tight and hard to loop, and the streets are long, with minimum usable strong pallets and almost no trash pallets to speak of. Throw in a killer-sided killer shack due to its extra size when compared to killer shacks from other maps. And this map is seemingly extremely killer-sided, but due to its long streets and alleyways allowing for easily pre-runnable areas, 3 god pallets, several strong windows, including a god window, and the survivors are far from sitting ducks. And that's without mentioning the deceptively safe main building that is the dance club itself. The club only has 3 entrances that are all within line of sight to the gen in the center of the room, one of which is connected to a strong window and another of which heads in the direction of decent pallets, making it extremely difficult to sneak up on any serves who's working on the gen with their heads on a swivel. Though, bear in mind, getting caught out within the club is very problematic for you, considering there's no real usable pallets in the area, and the bar not too far from the generator isn't exactly a highly loopable jungle gym. Due to all these factors, the map puts both sides on equal footing and requires both the killer and the survivors to understand the map deeply and intimately to excel on it, or lose. And that's, in my opinion, the best way to balance maps to begin with. All of this culminates in a map that's not only balanced for both sides, but is balanced for all killers across the board. Due to the map's many assets allowing killers to utilize it in their own unique ways for their own unique playstyles. Moving on, let's talk about the new survivor, Kwon Tae-Young, and his perks. Kwon is a brilliant, obsessive, and aloof software engineer hired by a company called Mighty. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. Mighty One Entertainment to create Mina, a virtual K-pop idol modeled after the Trickster himself. He designed a personality matrix to emulate human behavior, but soon realized his AI was replicating the Trickster's latent psychotic traits. Because, modeling your AI's personality and thought process after a serial killer is such a good idea. Am I right? Or am I right? After discovering the danger and potentially threatening to expose him, Kwon was confronted by the Trickster, who threw him from a balcony, leading to his entrapment, meaning, assumedly, Kwon's story in All Kill Chapter 2 is technically a prequel to All Kill Chapter 1, because why wouldn't the Trickster be in the fog? I don't know, a little confusing, but hey, if this survivor happens to interest you, and you're just as curious as I am on the timeline or order of events, there is a webcomic telling the story of the events that led to Kwon entering the fog. Now, that said, not only does this story tease us for the upcoming female Trickster skin, but it is in and of itself an interesting backstory for the survivor, especially poignant considering its use of evil rogue AI. Behaviour Once again, much like with good ol' Larry, pulling the strings of people's growing worries and fears in regards to the rapid modern AI advancement. That all to the side, let's talk shop and explain his perks. The first perk I would like to talk about is the least problematic one in my point of view that isn't unbalanced in any real way. A place for us. While healing another survivor, you both gain elusive. Whenever you finish healing the obsession, they gain elusive for 20, 25 to 30 seconds at max ranks. When the trial starts, you are less likely to be the obsession. Obviously, this perk isn't that big of a deal, and I can see some combos going with it, especially in healing builds, but it doesn't seem problematic to me at all. Next up, we have Flow State. Whenever a generator is completed, earn a token up to 5 tokens. For each token, you bless and cleanse totems, heal and unhook survivors 8, 9, and 10% faster. Much like a place for us, I don't find this perk to be that problematic personally, although be it is a little stronger given the healing speed factor, making healing builds a little stronger, but in my opinion, this is much more balanced than a lot of the healing builds that you can see, especially since the healing isn't flat out the gate. It is earned through the completion of generators, although you yourself don't have to be the one who finished them. Could this perk potentially be problematic, especially in certain builds? Sure, mayhaps, but given the fact that it's a perk that scales into the late game, for it to be at its full strength, it's not that big of a deal. The third perk, however, ooh, buddy, it's kind of bad. 5 moves ahead. While you are in the killer's terror radius or chased by the killer, you see the aura of the 5 closest pallets and windows. You drop pallets 50% faster with a 30, 25 to 20 second cooldown depending on rank. This perk is beyond problematic. A 8-year-old child would be able to tell you exactly why this perk is broken. And I say that with no exaggeration, because even an 8-year-old child can understand the concept of me but better. This perk is quite literally just better windows of opportunity. You know, not only one of the strongest survivor perks in the game, but the most used survivor perk in the game. Sure, there's stipulations to it, but they're redundant. Sure, it only shows you the 5 closest pallets and windows. Sure, it only works when within the terror radius of the killer or being chased by them. But almost nobody uses windows of opportunity to actually plan ahead. Pretty much everyone, including comp players, use it to expedite their looping pathing so they don't have to think about pathing while looping the killer. So not only are you 9 times out of 10 only using windows of opportunity during chase, but you only need the 5 closest pallets and windows anyway. Meaning, once again, this perk is windows of opportunity with the added caveat that I could drop pallets 50% faster every 20 seconds.
Emotional damage.
I will send you to Jesus.
Now, moving on from Kwon, let's move to an old familiar face, that of Yun-Jin, who, in the second chapter of All Kill, gets absolutely nothing.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Oh, the tragedy of Yun-Jin in the All Kill comeback patch. It's like being the K-pop producer who discovered the next big idol, only to watch them headline Coachella while you're stuck selling merch in the parking lot. New Survivor with new perks, a Trickster rework with a legendary skin on the horizon, but Yun-Jin? Crickets. Zilcha. Nada. Zip. No new outfits to slay in the lobby, no updated model glow up, no sassy voice lines, nothing. Her perks, fast track, and self-preservation get tweaks, but that's like giving the dropped and forgotten manager a participation trophy while the idols get private jets. Yun-Jin mains, stock up on tissues, cause your queen's getting the ultimate plot twist. Demoted to background dancer in her own encore. That said, there are some slight perk adjustments that I would like to read to you. First off, self-preservation's getting a tweak. When another survivor is hooked, you gain elusive for 20, 25, or 30 seconds depending on rank. The icon has been updated to reflect this change. Not a big deal. Certainly will be a very strong ratting perk if people choose to use it. I could see it being especially annoying during endgame scenarios, particularly in low MMR. However, it's the other perk change that I have a problem with. Fast track. Whenever a survivor is hooked, you earn 1 to 2 to 3 tokens depending on rank, up to a total of 9. While repairing a generator, whenever you hit a great basic skill check, spend all tokens. For each token spent, the generator gains 2 permanent charges. Now, this doesn't sound that problematic, because it's only 2 charges per token. But no, this is absolutely disgusting. Assuming each one of your teammates, not including yourself, got hooked twice. That is a total of 36 charges towards the completion of a generator for doing absolutely nothing. Combo this with a gen rushing build using perks like Deja Vu, Change of Plan, or the new teamwork perks. This is actually nastier than you think, especially when you take into consideration a Swift can all utilize these perks together in unison. Meaning, if you just hooked 2 separate survivors once, and all the survivors on the team had this perk, that's a total of 18 charges off of 2 hook states. Why are we 2 patches in a row force-feeding Gen Rush perks down the throats of survivors? I swear to God, it's like they're trying to make tunneling and slugging even worse so they could justify their bullshit changes from 3 patches ago. But now, the reason you're all here, let's talk about the main attraction. The Trickster. That glittery K-pop psycho, Ji-woon. That lovable C-tier pretty boy who's been collecting dust in the killer tier list like a forgotten sub-B sidetrack, just got a full power overhaul. No more back-revving main events like a toddler with a fidget spinner. Now it's all about style. Style points, style ranks, and stylish comebacks. I'll go ahead and break it down for you, but spoiler, Trickster might actually be playable now. Maybe. Let's dive in. Now, there's a lot to cover here, so I'm going to simplify it as best as possible and focus on the primary change that matters, that being the style system. You see, Behaviour decided to take a couple of Trickster's add-ons that they decided to make base kit, and then mesh them with his power and his main event. Balancing it out by creating a style ranked system, very similar to the combo meter you would see in games like Devil May Cry. Trickster builds up his style meter by gaining style points. Trickster gains style points by doing unique interactions, which involve breaking pallets, kicking generators, throwing knives at survivors, hitting survivors, downing survivors, and hooking survivors, allowing him to flow through his 6 style ranks, E through S. Each rank improving his showstopper power till he gets to S, in which he gains the main event. Now, with the explanation out of the way, what's the overall impression from the community? Well, mixed to say the least. Plenty of Trickster mains seem to love the changes, with only a few outliers here or there, and the overall impression from mid-skill Tricksters and Trickster casuals seems to be split down the middle. Whereas your average DBD content creator, like myself, seems to think that this is a hard downgrade, or at the very least a side grade. But what do I think of the new Trickster personally? Before I say, please do keep in mind that I have almost no experience with the character outside of playing Survivor against him. So this opinion is coming solely from a place of, in general, killer knowledge, skill, and experience. But I think he is an overall buffed killer for skilled players. However, he is for sure nerfed for button mashers. Let me explain. If you are, in fact, an experienced and or highly skilled Trickster player, you're going to love this. Literally, the only downside for you would be less main events due to the nature of the style system. But you won't mind that, since as long as you are playing well and landing blades, your showstopper power becomes better, faster, and stronger as you rank up, making the power overall stronger and more consistent for experienced Trickster mains, who don't really need or rely on main event that much to begin with. Additionally, you will get better use out of some of his new add-ons that work within the style system. For example, the Cut Through You single add-on that grants a stackable haste buff as you fly through the ranks. That said, however, if you are someone who is still learning the game, if you are someone who is trying to learn Trickster, or you're simply a casual mid-skilled Trickster player, these changes are, in my opinion, a hard nerf. Or at the very least, it is probably going to feel really terrible, and for multiple reasons. 1. He is slow as balls. Starting with probably my biggest issue right out the gate, Trickster is not a killer that is balanced at 4.4 movement speed. Period. Not like other ranged killers are anyway. Why? Because Trickster requires a much steeper time investment in order to take a health state with his power, whereas Huntress and Deathslinger are rewarded immediately for landing their shots. Additionally, missing as Huntress or Deathslinger isn't nearly as punishing as missing as Trickster. Once again, it is because the punishment for Huntress and Deathslinger is immediate, whereas with Trickster, due to the time investment needed to take health states, he is punished 2 to 3 times harder for failure. This is because, no different than any other ranged killer, Trickster has slower move speed when using his power. Not only that, but as Trickster continues to throw knives consecutively and use his power, he becomes progressively slower. So, in other words, he now has a slow on top of a slow on top of a slow, with his movement speed dropping to 3.53 move speed after 8 consecutive blade throws, and getting as low as 3.16 after 16 consecutive blade throws, practically anchoring you on the spot, making Trickster a non-mobility ranged killer that is already weak to pre-runs, even weaker to pre-runs. Just watch this bot game clip. I purposefully whiff my power, and the bot is able to get and maintain so much distance from me that it can simply outrun me while borderline running in a straight line. Now, mind you, this scenario is slightly unrealistic due to me forcing it in a controlled environment, but I feel it emphasizes my point well enough. I can see players ending up in similar positions with no choice but to drop chase and reload, to which, sure, you can argue that it is their fault for poor play, but let's be real here, ignoring the fact that it's not really that difficult to dodge and dip Trickster blades, especially if you're experienced against him. It isn't fair to a Trickster who had a Survivor nearly downed to just have no choice but to break chase, and all the Survivor had to do was run in a straight line. And keep in mind, this is all without taking 99 sprint bursts and syringes into account. I can honestly foresee a lot of players using the cut through you single add-on a lot. And quite frankly, I honestly don't know how you can stand him without that add-on. Reason number 2, reduced blade capacity. Simple. Less blades mean less room for mistakes. Reason number 3, the style system is slightly convoluted. And what I mean by this is new and mid-skill Trickster players will suffer from an overall inability to properly utilize the style system. And that's assuming they even care to engage with it in the first place. Most likely, they are just going to ignore it altogether, or at the very least, try and find ways to cheese it. Reason number 4, less main events. Due to the style system, there will be less main events. Main events being an aspect of the character that is heavily relied on the less skilled you are as him. Once again, this won't really affect you if you're really good as the character, but once again, those aren't the players I'm addressing right now. Reason number 5, you can't use main event near hooked survivors. One of the strongest things to do as Trickster is utilize your main event around hooked survivors where survivors are guaranteed to group. So now, the fact that you can't use it near hooked survivors means one of the few situations where survivors will actually group against a Trickster is useless to you, and you are unable to properly capitalize on it. Reason number 6, increased terror radius and back revving reduction. Yeah, Trickster's terror radius becomes the largest in the game when main event is available to him. 44 meters to be exact. Sure, his lullaby is disabled when main event is active, but that don't make much of a difference when you're a C-tier killer, at best, rocking a terror radius larger than Blight, Hillbilly, and Wesker, making stealth perks like Unforeseen and Secret Project almost mandatory for him now. And additionally, because of his reduced movement speed, back revving is already difficult to begin with. But if you combo his movement speed with the fact that he has a 44-meter terror radius when main event is available? Back revving, specifically with the main event, is going to be both rare and unreliable, at least for mid-skill tricksters. Which is good from a skill expression standpoint. Back revving in general isn't exactly the most skillful tactic, but is in fact a hard nerf for tricksters who are mid-skilled or lower. Which leads me to the 3 overall problems I have with these changes, at least constructively, or in regards to game design philosophy. 1, Behaviour. You're taking a character that, although admittedly has a lot of skill expression, primarily appeals to casual players, and raising the skill floor unnecessarily, especially considering that this will not overall increase his actual strength or tier ranking as a killer in any major way. 2, none of these changes actually address any of the issues or complaints about Trickster as a killer, in my opinion, nor does it address any of the issues or complaints that survivors have when playing against him. In my opinion, solving nothing and pleasing almost no one. Most of his gameplay issues are still there, and if you're a survivor that does not enjoy his gameplay loop, nothing there is really addressed either. Now, mind you, this isn't the biggest deal in the grand scheme of things, and isn't the biggest deal to me personally. Reason being, it would be extremely difficult to address any of these issues without directly harming the character's identity. And let's be honest, nobody wants another Myers on our hands. And for the 3rd and final issue I have with this character overall, Behaviour. You are once again compensation nerfing a sub B tier killer. I don't understand why you feel the need to compensation nerf parts of B tier or lower killers whenever they are getting a buff. Behaviour. Just buff them. They need it. That's why you're doing it in the first place. If they were decent and balanced to begin with, you wouldn't be buffing them. Trickster is a C tier killer that needs love, so I'm glad to see this chapter. But why, for fuck's sake, are you rebalancing him if he needs a buff? I'm so tired of this company running in fucking circles. You would think that after the initial success of the Pyramid Head rework, they would have learned something. But no. Behaviour, once again, proving me right when I say that their worst fear isn't a broken killer. It's for a killer to even be viable in the first place. Unless they're new or their names happen to be Nurse or Blight, that is. Now, this video is running kinda long, and I'm definitely coming to a close soon, but there are some things I should quickly mention, at the very least bullet point style. Starting with, of course, the other killer changes. First off, Vecna is getting a, in my opinion, wholly unnecessary nerf, both to him and a few of his add-ons. Now, Vecna players will probably feel it, but it's not enough to drop him from his current position as the 3rd or 4th strongest killer in the game, in my opinion. Next up, the Ghoul is getting a reduction to the stickiness of his Survivor lock-on, which will be a nerf to controller users, but is for sure a buff to mouse and keyboard users, allowing for more control during grappling tentacle flow states and attempted outplays. And finally, most depressingly, Mastermind is basically getting nuked off the fucking planet. Due to Behaviour, once again, confusing tech and skill expression as issues that need to be solved. Yep, that's right. Mastermind is officially getting the Oni Singularity treatment, making half his tech impossible, for example, Wesker Airlines or Rebounds, and the other half, namely Hug Tech, so easy there was no point in mastering the Mastermind in the first place. As you can imagine, considering Mastermind is one of the 3 killers I would, for lack of a better term, consider my mains, this hits me. This hits me pretty hard. Now, there is one last thing we need to talk about before the close of this video, and that of course is the perk description overhaul. Now, because obviously there's a lot here and it's very convoluted, I will do my best to avoid getting too in-depth on it. But, in short, Behaviour made the very fair decision to completely overhaul their descriptions of perks overall, given that they, for the most part, are very confusing and hard to follow for new players. Granted that a lot of the descriptions require in-game knowledge that you would have to gain from playing the game to understand. One of the many reasons why this game isn't very accessible to new players. Now, given that their goal was to make these descriptions less confusing, did they succeed? In some ways, yes, they did. But in other ways, they simply did not. Case in point, Spirit Fury, which, due to its new description, gave killers the impression that the perk will no longer work with special palette breaks. A fact that would be an annoying and unnecessary nerf to killers like Bubba and Legion, among many other killers of course, who have used this perk as one of their go-to perks for years. Turns out, however, despite its new description, it does in fact still work with special palette breaks, making this new perk description counterintuitive to their original goal. A fact that's even more funny and ironic considering Spirit Fury was the inspirational perk for doing this in the first place. Behaviour, I'm trying my best here to be fair and constructive with you, but these jokes honestly write themselves and you only have you to blame. Do better. And with that, I'm gonna end this video here. I hope you all enjoyed. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, hit that bell, and get in the comments. Till next time.